Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this special council meeting of Bass Coast Shire on Wednesday the 9th of July. If I could start by asking people to please turn off your mobile telephones, or in the case of an emergency, just advise me and switch to silent mode. Before I read the statement of acknowledgement, I would like to acknowledge a new member of our staff, Jade Glenn, who is our Officer for Governance. So there's a fresh face on our bench today. Welcome, Jade. And we'll go straight into the statement of acknowledgement. We acknowledge the Bunurong as the traditional owners and custodians of the lands and waters, and pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. I'd like to hand over to Councillor Jan Thompson for the councillor statement, please.
All members of this council pledge to the Bass Coast Shire community to consider every item listed on this agenda, based on the individual merits of each item, without bias or prejudice, by maintaining an open mind and disregarding councillors' personal interests so as to avoid any conflict with our public duty. Any councillor having a conflict of interest in an item will make a proper prior disclosure to the meeting and will not participate in the debate or vote on the issue.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. I'd like to welcome the gallery. We have quite a crowd in here today. It's lovely to see so many faces. And I'll go to item 1, which is present and apologies. We have an apology from Councillor Tassari today, and no further apologies have been registered. We're all here. Item 2, declarations of interest, which there are none. Just checking round the table. No late declarations of interest. So we'll go to item 3, which is reports requiring council decision, and 3.1 is the final draft Bass Coast Statement of Planning Policy. Mr Felsted, to introduce the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The preparation of the final draft Bass Coast Statement of Planning Policy that Council will be considering for endorsement today is the culmination of almost 6 years of policy preparation, community consultation, expert engagement and specialist assessments by and on behalf of the state government. The final draft statement provides a framework to guide future use and development of land in a manner which ensures the protection and conservation of Bass Coast's distinctive attributes. The final draft statement is of strategic significance to the Bass Coast community, providing a 50-year vision which integrates environmental, social, cultural and economic considerations into all decision-making and encourages sustainable development so that those values and attributes that we hold so dear are preserved for generations to come. The scale of the final draft statement is all-encompassing. Unlike the 3 predecessing councils which have had parts of their regions identified as declared areas, the final draft statement encompasses the entire Bass Coast municipality, providing clear policy guidance for the use and development of land. This is a blessing, providing clarity on the future conservation and development of the Bass Coast, but also a burden given the scale of further work which is outlined by the document. Subject to a council position supporting endorsement of the final draft statement today, council officers' recommendation calls on the state government to assist Bass Coast with the realisation of their authored policy and the implementation of appropriate controls to ensure the ongoing protection and conservation of the municipality's distinctive attributes. At this stage of the process, it is not open to council to suggest changes to the final draft statement, provide qualified endorsement or to vary or amend this document. The decision before council today is to consider the final draft statement of planning policy and accept or acknowledge that it is capable of being bound by or implementing it, ultimately choosing whether to endorse or refuse to endorse on this basis. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Felsted. I now would like to request a councillor move a motion on behalf of council. Councillor Temby. Yes. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Morgan. Councillor Temby, would you like to introduce?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I'd like to move the motion to endorse the Bass Coast Statement of Planning Policy, including the 3 significant tasks as listed on the screens around the room. The Distinctive Areas and Landscape Statement of Planning Policy, or SPP, recognises our Shire's major natural environmental attributes and provides us with a framework to ensure their ongoing protection whilst maintaining growth and further developments within the Shire. Our natural environment is the primary reason that the majority of our ratepayers and visitors were and are attracted to Bass Coast. We're disappointed that the state government didn't complete the SPP as detailed in the motion. We need the state government to prepare the necessary planning scheme amendments, including the significant landscape overlay. We request that they also conduct a strategic environmental assessment and create an environmental significance overlay for the Western Port woodlands, which are of national significance. This work needs to occur promptly, and we're requesting that the government do so as soon as possible. The SPP establishes town boundaries which give our farmers greater ability to plan ahead and ensures that developers' proposals are more likely to comply with the interests of the broader community. We must focus on making our urban areas welcoming places for all in the context of rapidly increasing climate change. We must ensure that green open space is maximised, tree canopy cover is increased, heat island risks are mitigated, houses are designed to maximise passive heating and cooling by aligning housing design with environmental criteria. And we need improved public transport options to be fully explored. We must acknowledge and respond to the increasing impacts of climate change, protect and enhance our natural environment, and continue to advocate for a national approach to these issues, as is being done at the moment. We need to explore options for regenerative ecotourism and farming practices for sustainable economic development. We need to ensure all biolinks are protected and links made to other shires to ensure our biodiversity, our natural and our cultural heritage within our declared distinctive areas and landscapes are protected. The SPP provides us with a long-term vision, a blueprint for planning clarity. It should help us to ensure that these longer-term needs are met, and it should help us to navigate a more inclusive future for all. It is the giant leap forward for Bass Coast. We'll be much better off with it than without it. I commend the motion too, including its requests for additional work by the state government, and ask for your support.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Councillor Morgan?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I support prioritising environmental protection. I support fighting for a safe climate future, and I support caring for country because this is unceded Bunurong land. The state government has made a positive step here, but is still yet to climb the hill which our community and environment needs them to climb. The Statement of Planning Policy finally recognises the Western Port Woodlands as an area of outstanding environmental significance. This is the last piece of significant coastal woodland in the region. If you were blindfolded and dropped into the woodlands, you'd think you're in a non-colonised haven, full of precious flora and fauna which so many citizen scientists have spent years surveying in desperate hope for their protection. The SPP is right. The woodlands are of outstanding environmental significance. So why are we still mining it for sand we don't need? I'll tell you what we do need. The state government to immediately commence the environmental assessments needed to determine the significance of biodiversity within the Western Port woodlands. We need an environmental significance overlay to the woodlands to ensure their ongoing protection. So thanks to everyone who's been involved in this very long, almost too long for some, I'm sure, process. We finally got the state government to acknowledge the distinctive attributes of Bass Coast. Across the whole Shire, these must be conserved whilst enabling sustainable development. I'd also like to give special thanks to the mighty South Gippsland Conservation Society and Save Western Port Woodlands. As my grandfather used to read to me from the Lorax, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing's going to get better, it's not. The trajectory of environmental destruction since colonisation has set us on the path to climate collapse within my lifetime. It's time to accept the science, put people and planet over profit, and work together for a more sustainable future.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Is there any other councillor that wishes to speak for or against? Councillor Thompson?
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I endorse both my councillors previous to me. Although I agree with this motion, which at last gives protection to the Western Port woodlands, I'm also mindful of the implication of retreat on page 23 of the strategy for those areas facing erosion such as Inverloch. So I'm caught wanting to approve for the best interest of our woodlands, and however I'm very concerned for those homeowners who face the threat of retreat with no insurance cover, as this is classified as an act of God, with no indication from the state government for compensation. If the state wants to retreat, they should be addressing those in the line of fire, or should I say the line of water, and offering appropriate compensation and a way forward. Another concern is the absence of a town boundary around the Adams Estate on Stanley Road, Granville. I have asked the state government through the council for clarification and the reason why they are not protected by the town boundary. I have asked what the ramifications and risks this leaves Adams Estate. in. To date, I do not have an answer to this question. I asked 5 weeks ago. This is not good enough to leave this estate in limbo and uncertainty. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Edwards?
I have a range of questions first before my debate, if that's okay.
Yeah, your question, Councillor Edwards?
Questions, plural. The letter that has been the impetus for changing the scheduling of this item of business today for the council agenda was dated the 13th of June 2025. Why did it not come out to councillors until 6:23 p.m. last Friday, the 4th of July, to call a special meeting?
Thank you. Mr Felsted?
Through the Mayor, the Minister for Planning in correspondence to Bass Coast Shire Council dated the 3rd of June advised that a decision on endorsement of the final draft statement of planning policy needed to be undertaken before the 18th of July 2025. Council was made aware late last week of the implications of making a decision outside the 28-day timeframe that's stipulated within the Act. That is, that Council's decision on endorsement or non-endorsement may not have been considered in any decision by the state to progress the approval or ultimate gazettal of the final draft statement of planning policy if it was made outside of those timeframes. This was the impetus for the additional council meeting to be requested, acknowledging that a decision on endorsement needed to be finalised by Friday the 11th of July.
Thank you, Mr Felsted. Your next question, Councillor Edwards?
Under our current governance rules, there are 4 business days required between the notice of a meeting and a meeting occurring, and yet there have not been 4 days between that period. Is there a reason for that?
Mr Phil Moulter?
Through you, Madam Mayor, a notice of meeting incorporating or accompanied by an agenda of the business to be dealt with must be delivered or sent electronically to every councillor for all council meetings at least 4 days before the meeting. Rule 12 of our governance rules does not specify that these must be business days. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr Phil Moulter. Your next question, Councillor Edwards?
Does council believe that it has provided reasonable notice to the public? The meeting was not scheduled on the council website until Monday the 7th of July, and the agenda did not go on the council website until afternoon on Monday the 7th of July. It was posted to council social media announcing the meeting less than 48 hours from the meeting times commencing.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Just before I go to Mr Phil Moulter, could we please have that air conditioner turned off? It's starting to get a bit cool in here. Thank you, Nicola. Mr Phil Moulter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. While most council meetings are fixed in advance under Rule 9 of our governance rules, unscheduled meetings are called from time to time for various reasons. In these instances, council makes every effort to provide as much notice as the circumstances allow. The governance rules are currently up for consultation, and council welcomes any contributions from the public who may consider an amendment to these rules to be necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, Councillor.
Was the meeting scheduled as a special meeting at short notice to be able to avoid, under the current governance rules, question time being on the agenda?
Through you, Madam Mayor, this was not the case, no.
Thank you, Mr Phil Moulter.
The agenda item refers to a number of pieces of correspondence referred to in it from in the agenda that has been made public. It refers to a letter from the 3rd of June from the Minister for Planning, from the 13th of June, and a letter from the Executive Director, Mr Stuart Menzies. The 2nd of July, a letter from S&K Planning Lawyers, and then the agenda also referred to a letter referred to from the Property Council of Australia and from the Urban Development of Australia. Is there a reason why these pieces of correspondence were not included in the agenda papers?
Thank you to you, Mr Felsted.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The content of this correspondence, whilst being made available to councillors, is not deemed part of this report.
Thank you, Mr Felsted. Councillor Edwards.
The Bass Coast Statement of Planning Policy, Distinctive Areas and Landscape Standing Advisory Committee report, which is dated the 22nd of June 2023, went public on the 5th of June 2025, although it was done in 23. Do we know what the cause of the delay was?
Through you,
Mr
Madam.
Felsted.
Yep. Thank you, Madam Mayor. No, we do not.
Okay.
Councillor Edwards.
I have not cited the Minister's statement of reason for the SPP. Are we aware if it exists, and if so, if it has been made publicly available?
Mr Felsted.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Correspondence has been received from the State this morning confirming that the Minister for Planning has not prepared or provided a statement of reasons with respect to the giving of the final draft statement.
Okay. What is the financial operational cost to ratepayers of implementing the SPP? And as obviously this is an ongoing cost.
Mr Phil Walter?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'll have to take that question on notice.
Okay.
Thank you.
Could the correspondence both referred to in the agenda, the correspondence received in the last couple of days from South Gippsland Conservation Society, Western Port Woodlands Group, and this morning's email from S&K Planning Lawyers, and the email that email referred to, dated the 16th of June, which I can't place in my inbox, be included in the minutes of today's meeting?
Through you, Madam Mayor, the content of this correspondence, both acknowledging in support or in opposition, whilst it's been made available to councillors, is not deemed part of this report.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr Felsted.
Where affected parties provided an opportunity in this term of council to present to council and have their concerns understood. As per the letter from S&K Planning dated 9th of July 2025 this morning, their previous correspondence and my request to hear from all affected parties.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards. Mr Felsted?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No, there has not been. I do note there were 3 rounds of public consultation undertaken throughout the preparation of the final draft statement, which has enabled the state to come to their decision and ultimate outcome on this document for our decision making today.
Thank you for answering my questions.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Could I just ask a question, Mr Felsted, about whether those proponents had the opportunity to put a submission to the panel that was set up for... You probably don't have that information with you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would need to take that on notice. I would imagine so, but I cannot confirm.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards?
Thank you. I'll now speak to the motion. I would like to concur with the significance of the woodlands and the points that Councillor Temby and Councillor Morgan have raised in respect of that. I completely concur in terms of that priority. However, I don't believe that this is the right vehicle. This is the most influential decision we will make in our term of council. I acknowledge and respect the work of officers over many years, community members who have submitted to the process, acknowledge the value of their various bodies of knowledge and their diverse perspectives. But the document in front of us recognises Western Port Woodlands as significance, which we all agree to. I think there's no question there. Yet our primary role as councillors is to represent the communities that elected us, to bring different perspectives to the table and debate respectfully to reach optimal outcomes for our constituents today and for the future. I respect those around the table now, in the past, and those to come to adequately and democratically reflect the values of our people. It's 1975. The last official train came to Wonthaggi where the coal industry is still operational. I'm still in a cot. The top hit was Love Will Keep Us Together and the Vietnam War ended. The Racial Discrimination Act of 1975 made it illegal to discriminate against migrants. Gough Whitlam was dismissed, and during a television interview, Bob Hawke pledges to give up drinking if he's successful to enter Parliament. And how do all these things reflect today? They don't. This document, this SPP, is for 50 years. 12 and a half terms of council after us will be dictated to about what they can and can't do in terms of Bass Coast. I think it's not upon us to say that we can dictate to our future councillors, to our future generations, when we won't even be alive, or maybe Councillor Morgan might be, at the time that this expires.
I want a livable planet.
and for unelected people to have more of a say than elected councillors, I believe is wrong. I have grave concerns around the process of the Delaney SPP. Although, as I said, with respect, I completely agree with the significance of the woodlands. My concerns are around the use of the word retreat rather than protecting our communities. The questions that I've raised prior to the debate that have been left unanswered by the Minister, not by Council. I respect the work that Council has done here. That the motion before us is binary, yet the document is noted even by officers to include some anomalies in attachments B and C. There is no statement of reason from the Minister for Planning. In my mind, natural justice has not been applied in terms of listening and considering by this term of council to the perspectives of all affected parties, despite numerous requests that have been ignored.
30 seconds.
That the local MP announced the DAL SPP prior to the process being complete, firstly on 17th of December 24 and again on the 3rd of 25. Yet the draft SPP independent report didn't come out until the 5th of June 2025. While we endorse the recognition of Western Port Woodlands significance, there are other means to achieve this. As highlighted through my questions, I caution all my colleagues to consider carefully whether you vote for this, to have your name attached to it.
Well done, Councillor Edwards. That was right on 3 minutes. You must have practiced that one. Is there any other councillor that wishes to speak for or against? Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, look, I'd like to speak for the motion. I think that we are, as Councillor Edwards suggested, we're at a consequential moment here, and far from removing or diminishing council's powers to control its destiny, the DEL in fact improves council's powers by defining town boundaries, by defining areas that we significant landscapes that we need to protect. It will make it easier for council to protect those things. So this is possibly the most consequential vote that we'll make in the 4 years that we have as councillors. And it's something that, in fact, we have seen movement, from the state government. When the first iteration of the DEL, when we first viewed the first iteration of the DEL, the Western Port woodlands weren't mentioned. But with a whole lot of community activism and we've managed to get the Western Port woodlands now as a consideration as part of the DEL. So we're not dealing with an iron box here. We're dealing with something which will help us achieve the aims of the Bass Coast community and of Bass Coast Council. And if this is the appropriate place, I would really like to mention the incredible community support that we've had behind this in terms of shifting the DEL to better reflect the aspirations of the community of Bass Coast. And this will be to our legacy and to your legacy, Madam Mayor, that we do this. But we've got so many people. Jordan Crook from the National Parks Association, the Western Port Biosphere, Neil Rankin, Save Western Port Woodlands, of course, PICS, Phillip Island Conservation Society, South Gippsland Conservation Society. Now, I see here in the room Dave and Jackie Newman, Dick Wettenall's not here, Laura and Brearley and Terry. And of course, Catherine Watson, who has led our movement. Now I know I've left some people out there. In Thexton, he's probably about there. He is. And we have been able to move this, and we will continue to move this. But we've got a blueprint here that we can work with, and that's a really important and valuable thing for us.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Is there any other councillors that wish to speak? Councillor Bauer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, fellow councillors and ratepayers watching this meeting, and I'm so glad to see so many of you. That's fantastic. Whichever way we vote today, we will have little impact on the outcome of the DEL process. This motion is a Shire rubber stamp on the process. In principle, I do support the DEL and how it is protecting our beautiful environment of Bass Coast. However, there are a few shortfalls. I'm still concerned about the natural justice afforded to the developers in Cape Patterson. They initially invested monies under one set of criteria and now have been confronted with a boundary change which prohibits expansion and locks in the current town boundary. I am concerned that the locking in of town boundaries, the only option is to chop up the larger blocks as infill, and after that the only option is to go up. As an islander, my experience is that residents would prefer the larger allotments against the sardine can outcomes, which are primarily driven by bang for buck.
Housing affordability.
To expand on Councillor O'Brien's statement, I would also like to acknowledge Island Voice, who has contributed to this process. But as Councillor Edwards said, and I concur, about the future generations, it's for them to deal with, not us. But I will vote for the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. Councillor Bell, I think you're the only one. You're happy not to speak today?
Nothing to add.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. I might go back to you, Councillor Temby, to sum up.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you to the contributions from all the councillors. That's valuable information. The SPP recognises the Western Port Woodlands as having outstanding environmental significance. The SPP encourages us to listen to the science and act on it, and that's most important in the context of climate change. It assists in inclusivity by acknowledging the Bunurong links to the land and their cultural practices. It provides us with a blueprint that will assist our forward planning. And I commend the motion to you. It's important for all of us and our futures that it's approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. All those in favour? All those against?
I call for a division, please.
Thank you. All those in favour? Councillor Bauer, Councillor Morgan, Councillor Temby, Councillor Thompson, Councillor Halstead, Councillor Bell, Councillor O'Brien. All those against? Councillor Edwards. Thank you, that's carried. Alrighty, that brings us to the end of the agenda. A short one today, councillors. So the next council meeting will be held on the 16th of July at 2025 at Burn and Eat in Cowes, commencing at 1 p.m. Thank you for watching the live stream of council's meeting. The meeting will now be closed at 1:33, and thank you to the gallery for joining us.